Okay, so in reality, what is the war that we're in? We are in a war of resistance that is deadly, and then the system must protect the people who are around people who are resisting their body, mind, and spirit because they become deadly to people around them. And so it seems when everybody is in resistance to their own body, mind, and spirit, then everyone's deadly around them, then you walk away. So resistance to whatever is the war people are not surviving. Resistance to whatever is the war people are not surviving. Oh, God, I hate these pens. Not surviving. And so I figure out protection is not protecting the person who is taking the medication. They're protecting people around them who are taking the medication. And when everyone's taking medication, then everybody's dangerous to each other. And that's kind of a crazy thing because, again, you cannot be under a type of resistance too long, and then it becomes a mutually assured destruction. So when you have two people who are next to each other under the influence or taking medication or in resistance to whatever's going on in their body, mind, and spirit, it becomes, yes, a mad situation, a mutually assured destruction. And that's what I need to say. Hold on, I need to say this. And so resistance to whatever is the war people to whatever war people are not surviving the war of resistance. And so two people under medication are in a war of resistance, and then it is mutually assured destruction. Okay? And so, yeah, and that's when you need to really step away from the war. And so I got lucky that my husband is not under medication. He's not under any kind of health issue that I know, as far as I know. But when that happens, if that ever happens, then that will be something that's the bridge I will cross. And so, yeah, two people under medication are in a war of resistance, and then it's a mutually assured destruction. And that's essentially what's going on right now, is that people are in a major war of resistance. And so that's why I posted this thing about releasing the shadow of death is releasing the reason to resist. Okay? So people wonder why their loved ones are changing. Okay? So I've seen on my mother's bookshelf either Sybil or I don't think I saw the Three Faces of Eve. I don't even know where I got that from. But that's somewhere it was lodged in my head, because even the song of Eternal Flame that I was looking for, wondering what song was that I wanted to post, but it came to me when I was releasing my demons on the toilet, and then I took a shower and just sat with hot water and opened up all my pores and my blood vessels. They were contracting. And then the Three Faces of Eve, Eternal Flame from the Bangles, and all of that just kind of rushed forward. And all of a sudden I was just singing a song. I was humming a loop about Eternal Flame. And that's why I posted that reel that showed things on fire and the contrast of beauty, the beauty of destruction. I mean, that's really kind of what's going on, is we're watching the beauty of destruction. And it's also ugly, but it's also beautiful too at the same time. That's why I like going into places that are deteriorating, because it shows that that's the end of one world, the beginning of another world. And you're alive, but things around you are dying, because it is now the next evolution. Okay? And so the whole multiple personalities thing and everything, yeah, all of us have had so much innovation injected into us, whether it's sexually or whether it's through the therapy, whether it's through how we were raised. And you don't know really everything of how you're raised, because when you're a baby, you don't remember a lot of things when you're a baby. So a lot of things happen to people when they're babies, and then behaviors manifest. So you just got to deal with whatever it is that was implanted in you whenever. and figure out how to come to terms with it and release it if it's possible. And so the last 3 years, I've been releasing some aggressive stuff. I mean, the last 7 years, 8 years, I've been releasing a lot. But it was really the last 3 years where I was really facing some aggressive freaking demons, okay? So people wonder why their loved ones are changing, because they have so many different personalities within that the climate change and other therapies are bringing up personalities that they weren't even aware existed until during this pandemic. And so you will see people become mean if they've been suffering so much and they've been holding it back with drugs and alcohol, and they can't help it because their identities are starting to crack and become fractured. And so when I've had those recent dreams of losing my identity, my hair's all weird, okay, where I didn't have, recurring dreams, where I didn't have my phone, I didn't have my ID, I didn't have a passport, I couldn't get on a plane to go back home, I was in China or some other place. And that was symbology of the identity is gone. I mean, not that I really had one, but whatever identity I had at the time, I don't have that anymore. I mean, that's what the crazy thing that's going on is, once you finally get to release that identity of whatever it is, that you're a mother, you're a wife, you're Christian, Catholic, whatever, and you're just sitting now in a space of just kind of like floating, and you're like straddling all these worlds, and you see how people are so locked into their identity and the deadliness of their identity and their fight for that identity. You're like, dude, I feel it in my gut how dangerous it is out there. The facades are cracking. People are becoming meaner and meaner and meaner and more deficient, more deteriorating. And they're under the influence even more and more and more, trying to find a way to escape the pain and suffering. And you're like, dude, it's a pressure cooker out there. It's a pressure cooker out there. And you don't want to be out there, but some people are but you know, society, you can kind of tell in areas that are a little bit more rural and not as crowded, that you can kind of tell people's behaviors. But when you go into really aggressive crowds that are triggered by music and football games or whatever, it becomes very unpredictable. And so I wouldn't go into a diverse crowd today. I mean, I'll go fishing with my husband. I'll go into like a restaurant that's not very crowded, but I wouldn't go into major aggressive crowds at this point. All right, so when people become mean, you know the facade is fading, and now it's going to be a battle between good and evil when you think about it. All right, so when people are extremely kind, okay, it's because underneath they have a bed of lava, of anger that they have to keep under control. But you'll see the cracks in the facade once you trigger them. So you see all these people all these people who are left. And I'm making an example of the left wing, because a lot of people who are left wing, who are all about, oh, we got to be kind to all these different people who are indigent and discriminated against and all that. And I understand. And I am kind to people. I'm not overly kind to people. I don't play that game of manipulation. But what happens is that people who are like, oh, I will love your children, whoever they are, I don't care what they are, and they're all coming off like that. And then you have a system coming in going like, okay, we're not giving anyone special treatment. We're not going to make people force them to get together and like each other, because you can't do that. That causes resistance. It's not going to work. And so then you see the facade of the whole kindness. Oh, I love everybody. And you'll see them hate those they perceive is taking away someone's right. You'll see the devil in people when they think that someone is now implying that somebody else is less than. No, we're just saying, no, we're not going to play this reverse discrimination. We know people are not going to like each other. We know that's going to happen. We're going to try the best we can to expose people to different lifestyles and give them that exposure, but it's ultimately the person's choice whether or not they want to tolerate someone who's different. And you can't make people like you. Believe me, I've tried to be a drug addict. I've tried to be an alcoholic. I've tried to assimilate to whatever situation that I was in, and that only lasts so long. And eventually my true self is in resistance to what I'm trying to assimilate to, and then it becomes a war within myself. And then when my true self comes out, right, in a very diverse company that doesn't like my true self, then you have people coming back at me trying to keep that true self under wraps and try to bring out what they want me to be by whatever behaviors that develop a resistance that you actually feel at the pit of your stomach. And so then you're like, dude, okay, maybe it's not a good idea to try to assimilate to a crowd that is actually in conflict with who you are. And that would include someone who is gay, straight, lesbian, Republican, or Democrat. If you know this culture is this way, why would you put yourself in a resistance type of situation? Why would you cultivate that and expect protection from your government, protection from the executives, protection from HR? It's not going to fucking happen. The reality is you can't force anyone to tolerate you. I mean, you can try legally, but even then you have to prove that there was discrimination. And people have been going through those court cases. I think I saw one recently where a lady, she was pregnant or had kids, and she was passed over for position, and a guy took her position because she had a family. But you can also kind of see the other side of it. If a company knows that when someone has a family and they have children, they're going to take time off, they're going to have to be there for their kid 100% because family comes first. They're going to have to do things that will compromise the company because they're going to have to take off, take care of their family, take care of the health issues, take care of cooking and cleaning and doing things. So their attentions are not 100% on the company. And so you almost, on one end of it, can't blame the company for hiring a guy who will be probably consistent. If he doesn't have a family, he's single and he's by himself and all he has is just his apartment, his TV, and he has maybe a couple girlfriends that he's not really committed to, but his job is 1,000% first and foremost. So you're going to see a lot of things change. And if women want to have a family, they really can't have it all. I mean, they could try, but something's going to come up short. And so, if we're heading into a family first situation, which we're heading into, the system is going to act accordingly. It's going to piss off a lot of women who are trying to break the glass ceiling. It's going to piss off a lot of, people who've been discriminated against, and it's like, I don't know. There's no way to fix it. There's no way to fix it. So that's why the system is going through these major, major changes. And people are resisting it, and they're going to act like they're a victim. But at this point, you can't make people be well. You can't make them be consistent. You can't make them be something that they're not. And so now you just have to accept who you are and find an area, whether occupationally or culturally or even, socially, an area, find people who will accept you and find a way to survive and not force yourself into situations that you're not equipped to deal with. Could I be a fireman right now? Carrying 1,000 pounds on my back, well, not 1,000, say 350 pounds on my back? No, I wouldn't force myself in that situation and force a fire station to take me in. If I can't lift 250 pounds on my back, up and down stairs, there's no reason why I should be a fireman, okay? And that's kind of the situation that we're in, is that where people are who are like, 100 pounds want to be firemen. Can't even carry their own weight, much less another person on their back. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. So that's why you stay home and stay safe, because you don't know what facades are cracking and what will trigger people into extreme deadly behavior and violent behavior, and if it's not channeled correctly. And so many people are hanging by a string, and you don't want to be in the crossfire when the volcano explodes, and you don't know when that will be. Okay? I mean, the last 3 years, I have been releasing demons. And I might come off on Facebook like I'm angry and this and that. And yeah, absolutely, that's me releasing demons. But I'm channeling it through information, through study, through facing my own mistakes and whatever. And I channel it through my Facebook Lives. And I channel it through typing and writing. And not cultivating resistance, not shooting back at people when they're trolling me, not getting retribution or retaliation, which I used to do, and I'm so surprised I don't do that anymore. Because I want to teach someone a lesson. You don't troll me. If you troll me, I'm going to troll you back. No, that's called mutually assured destruction. That is sustaining a war. No, you release the demons, and you acknowledge the situation through a more egalitarian way of explaining it without belittling that specific person, but bring in, all people who probably exemplify those behaviors of targeting people and crossing boundaries and doing some kind of society virtual RAPE. Okay. All right. But you can't make somebody change, but you can say, I'm not tolerating the behaviors from those who act like them, who haven't been blocked by me yet. Okay. So that's why you stay home and stay safe, because you don't know what facades are cracking and what will trigger people into extremely deadly behaviors and violent behaviors if not channeled correctly. So many people are hanging by a string, and you don't want to be in the crossfire when the volcanoes explode, and you don't know when that will be. everyone right now is under their own immunological pressure cooker, and they have all their different experiences that you know nothing about. So tread carefully around your peers and look for the signs of the cracks in the facade. And that includes your husband, your wife. When I asked my husband, well, if I'm not taking on a religion and I'm not Christian, and if I'm not whatever, I mean, I have to ask him what he thinks of me sometimes. But now that I finally understood what the right wing is trying to do, even though some people have issues with some people who represent the right wing in the lay population, the actual powers that be behind what's going on have a far more broad or a global view of what's going on, and not everything is so narrow as some people think. But there is a point. So we've come to a certain agreement on some level. Okay, that I'm okay with the fact that we're going towards a Trump and towards even the Heritage Foundation type of situation. And even last night when we were going to get dinner, we were arguing about global warming. And he was saying this, the scientists in the right wing were like, oh no, when you go to the country, away from the city, away from all the lights and the solar panels and whatever, it's not global warming out there. But it's more global warming because of the pavement and the buildings. Then I'm thinking also too, immunologically, when you have an underlying ultra low frequency influencing people's microbes, they're developing more growth, which then would raise the temperature. And so, yeah, if you're around a bunch of people and they are influenced by ULF, and that also would probably influence the environment, because I would feel different temperature changes when I'm having to feel like my body's pushing the poop out. And I would feel sweat before I would go to the restroom. And the system is actually moving. When my bowels are moving, I would actually be sweating. Because I know, and then when I'm coughing, there's temperature changes too. So when people are influenced by ULF and other types of frequencies as causing growth, you're going to see the temperature rise. And then that's what causes the global warming. And so I can understand where he's coming from, that when you get away from the city, you get away from the pavement, the blacktop, and the cement, that it's not global warming out there in the country, but those in the city, those in the pavement around the solar panels and everything else are influencing the weather in the country. And so, so overpopulation doesn't necessarily mean like so many people. I mean, it does, but also overpopulation is in your body developing the growth that's causing the diacetylates, the blockages, all the aneurysm and strokes and all that, okay? And so ever since the beginning of spring, I have been in the process of releasing the shadow of death underneath my eyes, looking like two puffy circles. And so when I wake up in the morning, I release demons, but you can see, I still feel a little bit of pain every so often, not as bad, but it's always right here. This is where the issue, and then behind let me see if you can still see this. My hair, I'm not like going all white. I still have gray hair, but that's because of the Hayflick limit. But this used to be a bit bigger. I mean, this goes up and down every so often, but this is right there. This is part of your immune system, okay? And so ever since the beginning of spring, I have been in the process of releasing the shadow of death underneath my eyes, looking like two puffy circles. And it is not to say I was not releasing the shadows of death last 3 years since the pandemic. But this was another level that was not like any other experience. The pain which stood out to me the most was around the arm pain, the back pain, the wrist and hand pain that I've never experienced before, where I couldn't even hold my phone. I mean, I have little snippets of arm, wrist, and back and hand and shoulder pain before, but this pain was daily and patterns started to emerge. When you're waking up in pain, right, you're like, what the hell? Then you get hot water and you poop, and then you go in the shower and you get hot water and open up all the pores and the blood vessels, and still find ways to make sure that you're leveraging everything out, make sure everything gets out. Not everything gets out on the toilet, right off the bat. So you have to really figure out how to leverage everything out and then allow your body to then rebuild based upon the current infrastructure, the current information, the current environment of today. And it is a process of converting and releasing the old world and building a new world, old world, new world, old world, new world, because you have layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and strata of time and trauma and genetic defects that have to be released, and then you have to then rebuild the areas that are deficient. And so I noticed some people are having issues with the leg pain. They're getting, deep vein thrombosis, and they're getting, blood clots in their legs and all that stuff. And it's because, their lower part of their southern hemisphere is clogged and blocked up, and they're not releasing demons down there, and it's causing issues in their leg lymph nodes. And so since I was athletic as a kid, and I did do gymnastics and I did do soccer, I didn't do so much like the long distance running, but I did a lot of just sprints and athletics that I was able to develop and strengthen. And then, of course, my PMS, releasing the demons and eating food, also gave me that platform. And so now during this climate change, I'm not feeling too much issue. I mean, I had a leg weak, like both legs were weak when I was dealing with that major mycoplasma back in July 2022, when CERN was turned up at that time, when the frequencies were becoming so much more. But all in all, I've not really had too much leg pain. Maybe my ankle because I sprained it. But mostly the pains is in my head, neurological, and then it's the arm, the shoulder, the weight of the world in the back, the stiff neck, the hives. I had a few hives the other day, and it wasn't bad. It was just a few hives, and they're actually becoming less and less and less. So sometimes, actually all the time, we all have layers of colony-forming units that are under deep layers of stuff, and then as the frequencies do what they do, and you're releasing demons, and you're basically digging to the next layer of memories and things, then they come to surface. So then it makes sense that I start thinking of things in the shower or on the toilet as my body is bringing up memories and releasing the demons, and I'm eating food to support that process. And it is a systematic process. It is a progressive conditioning, systematic process of releasing the old world, releasing the damage, and rebuilding oneself. Okay, and you need to have ways to channel that energy and that pain. And if you don't have ways to do that, and you're not technologically savvy, you're not in tune with how shit works, then people go to what they know best, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, clubs, activism, violence. And so, I've had little snippets of arm, wrist, and back and hand, shoulder pain before, but this pain was daily and patterns started to emerge. And so I noticed all the pain was the pressure of the system pushing composites of proteins throughout my upper and lower immune system. Relative to the temperature outside and inside would determine how much pain I was in due to the blood vessels expanding and contracting. So I then discovered that the hot water, my hands were so sore, and I'm doing dishes. So I'm just dealing with the pain, and I'm like, okay, I'm eating food, and I gotta do stuff, and I gotta do dishes. The hot water relieved the pain in my hands. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, does blood vessels, when they constrict, does it make it painful when there is a bunch of proteins being pushed through? Well, yeah. So when blood vessels and in each opener on either end of my body were constricted, I noticed more pain. So the hot showers and the ability to cough, sneeze, and blow my nose and release demons down there helped me relieve the pressure, and of course, pooping so much. Okay? I also noticed hunger at different times of the day relative to the growth and release process, and of course, the heart palpitations. Whenever I would get the increase in heart rate, I would eat so much spaghetti and cheese and sauce and ice cream and food to give the body something to process and filter. Okay? I know that is what the whole point of high blood pressure is. Some people will get heart attacks and strokes because they'll have a sudden event. They have all this jetsam and flotsam just kind of sitting around, and then a surge of energy push it. Obviously, when a surge of energy just increases in momentum, pushing all of this stuff together, it comes into like a ball of sorts, and then it's pushing through narrow passageways, you will have a sudden event. It's like defibrillation. But if your blood vessels are so in resistance and they're thick, or there's not enough substance then you'll get not only a heart attack, but you may not survive it. You may break a blood vessel and rupture, and then you can have a brain bleed or something else, and internal bleeding, and that's when people have all these issues that go on, and they have sepsis and all that. So it's a conditioning process to understand how to exercise your blood vessels by understanding what high blood pressure is. But if you don't understand what high blood pressure is and how to feed and how to release the pressure cooker of your immune system, then yeah, you have to see a doctor. You have to get somebody to regulate and stop the immune system activation. So essentially you're just kind of like, a type of gelatinous thing that has absolutely no form. Because over time, when you don't allow the system to go through that resistance of expansion and contraction and feeding it, then people become gelatinous. They become so soft and jello-y. And that's why these elderly people look like they're gelatinous, because they could not handle immune system activation, but their brain was still working, but their body was deteriorating. Okay? And so high blood pressure is immune system activation. And of course, the body needs food, rest, and also a person needs to allow their immune system to release. In our world, people are afraid of high blood pressure because their immune system is in resistance. And so the person becomes a pressure cooker, and then they pop for all intents and purposes. To alleviate popping from pressure release, the system of medical professionals advocate starving the immune system or using vasoconstrictors to stop the body from releasing. And so the person either becomes skinnier and skinnier or morbidly abundant until the body cannot handle the pressure of retention or release any more than a sudden event, or they go for operations and get just fat, just basically slice off their body. So they go through major trauma. That if they want to become whole again, they have to revisit. And who wants to do that, right? So this is their only life. They can handle the pain of building back up again. What's it called? Build back better? So the last 4 months, I have been facing the shadows of death, and I could feel them in my arms, my shoulders, my wrists, my hands, because they were the weakest and the most underdeveloped part of my body. I also had the crazy dreams of losing my identity and even felt the flesh of an incubus, I think. I remember one dream the last few weeks where I've actually felt the squishy hand of something that I'm telling you, when you're in your dreams, you're in a different world. And yeah, there is a spirit world. There is the upside down. There is the spirit world of orbs and memories. And they do actually materialize into something tangible. That's what's crazy about the spirit world. And when you're sleeping and when you're dreaming, you have all these entities within you. Even the dream world can feel just as real. But if it becomes so real, then you lose yourself from this world going into that world. And so some people say that, death is an illusion, that, I'm like, okay, I guess. But see, so anyway, so I've had that last little push of whatever identity that I've had be released through my dreams, to where the end of the dreams are like, you keep losing your passport, you keep losing your phone, you keep losing your ID, no one knows who the fuck you are. And that's so symbolic of what's going on today. Okay? And so I used to play sports. So I had enough circulation infrastructure that I did not experience too much pain in my legs. I did experience weakness in my legs back in July 2022, but not this time around. This time around, it was my immune system actively repairing my lymph nodes in my arms, my shoulders, and back and neck. And that was the back of my neck was swelling a bit more during the most aggressive times. I did not get such rashes under my armpits like I did the last 4 years lately. So remember when I had those rashes, I'm like, I would never dare to open my arms up. Now I look at my arm, like under here, it's better. I don't have the rash under here, and there's more range of motion over here. Here, it's like, it's still, I can still feel a pull, but it's not as bad. But again, everything, I just have to deal with it. And so I did not get such rashes under my armpits like I did the last 4 years lately. And I am getting better range of motion in my arms. However, during high pressure release times, like last night, my arms were a lot more sensitive to wrestle. My husband and I like to wrestle sometimes. And I'm like, dude, you just can't. My shoulder, before we were able to do that, but now it's like, my shoulder is so weak. My husband's like, you need to go exercise. You need to do that. I'm like, no, that's not it. It's going through a repair process. And when you're going through a repair process, healing internally without using herbs and extracts and all that other shit, yeah, you're going to feel the pain. because you have to be gentle to your body when it's going through a transformation, so to speak. You can't abuse it like people are, okay? And so my husband needs to be more gentle, and I need to rest a lot more. But the next morning, like this morning, after feeling bloated due to immune system activation, I released a shitload of demons. And wow, and it was a lot. I was like, what the hell? And so sometimes you won't release as much one day, and it'll be all like hard little pebbles. And the next day, you feel bloated. You know, that day that you didn't poop so much, you feel bloated. And then your body goes through an energy conversion that you can feel because your stomach's growling, you're hungry. Like we had, you know, some Japanese food. And so then after that, then this morning I woke up, I was coughing and blowing my nose. I was trying to go back to sleep. My husband went fishing this morning, and I released so many demons. And so that's why I'm up early in the morning, because between 2 and 5 a.m., because I am fighting the battles my immune system is equipped to fight. And this morning I was coughing so much and blowing my nose. So finally I woke up, released the demons, and took a long hot shower. And I took a shower even 3 times this morning. I took a shower in the morning. I took a shower in the midday. And I knew that I was feeling pain, that something was pushing through, but I wasn't going to force everything, because maybe some of the things are not, you know, reachable to force anything out. So you just take the hot showers to open up the pores, yes, but also to open up the blood vessels and the alimentary canal to let the system pass things through. Like you're helping your system pass things through. And so then this morning I felt the mucus. And so when you get mucus, you have a lot of crap down there, and the mucus is like the offspring from your body actually fornicating with the crap, and it develops an offspring that's telling you know that there's offspring here. You have to release the demons, release the entities that are causing this offspring. And so that's why you poop and you cough and you sneeze and blow your nose, or else you become then chaotic. And so I was coughing and blowing my nose. Finally, I woke up and released demons, took a long hot shower, and wow, I feel so much better. And the shadow of death is fading. And so this is intense, everyone. This is spiritual war. We are linking itself to the microbes. We are linking itself to the microbes within are so severe. I understand why so many are spiritual. And I've asked people when they've taken Jesus Christ into their name and all that stuff, they were born again Christians. Like, well, one day I was sitting in bed and I'm so sick, and I hear something, or I feel something, or I see something. And yeah, it's your microbes. It's something telling you, the days are numbered. You're in Revelations. You're in, you know, Judgment Day is coming up. And that's why you get a lot of born again Christians are like, oh God, we're in Judgment Day, because they're feeling it. Their body's telling them they're in Judgment Day. And so the Bible and people's immunological influences are kind of like working hand in hand. Okay. And so, so this is intense, everyone. The spiritual war we are in, linking itself to the microbes within, are so severe. I understand why so many are so spiritual. All the messages of doom and gloom and drugged happiness and love are the microbes influencing your politics, religion, science, dogmas, and then the hive minds. People who are hive-minded congregate in groups and groupthink as the intelligent microbes link everyone together and become a force the government must sit and watch and also regulate. Insane, to say the least. And that's why my pictures, like when you see pictures of me, where some days I look great, some days I look like, you know, I'm a bloated looking weirdo. I mean, I don't like posting pictures of me looking not very symmetrical, but that's another, if you wanted to apply it to something people understand, 3 faces of Eve, because you have different personalities, different colonies of personalities and intelligence within you, and sometimes they manifest differently through your face. Some days, and so when I'm gathering demons and going to war my body, you'll see a different face. You'll see bloatedness. You'll see weirdness. You'll see whatever. And then when the war is done and everything is okay, or the war is calmed down, then you see pictures of me looking relatively symmetrical. And you're like, what the hell? Is Jillian using filters? No, it's just I'm not cured. I'm evolving with whatever immune system activation is going on at the time. And it can be different. And that's the weird thing. That's what society was not geared towards for many years, because people who are not cured, that's why they wanted all the medications and the surgeries. So that way you can still do your job, still do your family functions, and still do whatever it is you do based upon the needs of society. And when the system is done with all of that curedness, then the evolution of just people changing like that is now what we're watching, and it becomes dangerous when people are changing like that and when they become unpredictable. Okay, and so it's not that different when then someone who is extremely sorry, who has extreme personality changes, and when they get triggered, the person becomes a different person. And I'm watching Dexter, and that's really awesome to watch. You guys should watch Dexter. You don't want to have something like extreme personality disorders and multiple personalities, because then a person can become dangerous. And that's what you want to release, are those dangerous personality disorders, the ones that are like unpredictable and deadly, and have the main one that is relatively balanced. It's not out to kill someone or hurt somebody or become so triggered that they become unpredictable. But you want to be aware that the changes in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, in your face is because of the different microbes. Controls all the time. And control, in control at the time during different times of the day. All right? The talk to text changes when I say in, it turns into and I don't know why it does that. So the 3 faces of Eve is the programming that person is under and the type of extreme personalities that come up when triggered when all the conditions are right. And so this is the brief synopsis of the movie that was done in 1957. Suffering from headaches and inexplicable blackouts. And sometimes when I go to sleep after a major immune system activation and the heart palpitations and I ate so much food, I want to remember how long I've slept or what day it is sometimes. That was a few months ago. Okay? And so suffering from headaches and inexplicable blackouts, timid housewife Eve White, Joan Wordwater, begins seeing a psychiatrist, Dr. Luther. He's stunned when she transforms before his eyes into the lascivious Eve Black and diagnoses her as having multiple personalities. It's not long before a third, calling herself Jane, also appears. Through hypnosis and continued therapy, Luther struggles to help Eve recall the trauma that caused her identity to fracture. And a lot of people have gone through some major trauma that's caused them to fracture their personalities. And then that's why they're under the influence, because of the trauma, because of whatever. And for them to exist and be relatively stable, they have to be under medication. They have to do whatever they do. They have to self-medicate. And that's why it's dangerous. Now, when people's facades are crumbling and you don't know what you're getting out there. So if people are under medication, have been treated for so much disease, they're hanging by a string. And so, yeah. And I haven't been under medication or been treated for so much disease. I mean, I barely have been, I only went to the hospital maybe like twice my whole life. Twice. What do you think about it? I mean, I've been to to get my ankle taped up back when I was younger and then get a boot when I re-injured it, actually around 2010. But I was in the hospital for a neurological disorder way back when. I won't say neurological disorder. It was something weird that came up that made me they thought I had a concussion. So I was in the hospital for that. I think it was something to do with the therapies at the time. And then when I took sulfa and I got an allergic reaction, and that was actually in the 90s. And so I haven't really been to the hospital. I haven't been on any prescription drug. I think cigarettes were the biggest addictions that I've had. I would do recreational drinking, but I've never been an alcoholic. All right. And so, yeah, people are hanging by a string. And so you got to be very careful around those who are under a doctor's care. And you can't help them. You really can't. They have to be under a doctor's care. It's out of your hands. Just be careful who you get with. And so during these elections, you're going to watch those with hive minds of aggressive perceptions that someone is taking away their rights. You will see people get caught up in the crossfire. I already see so many people on my Facebook who are left-wing thinking that so many people are going to be losing their rights, and there's nothing that they're losing. Nobody is going into their house, and telling them what to do. Nobody in the government is forcing you to have children. But it's your friends and your family and your husband and wife, whoever, it could be transgender or whatever, I don't care, and your in-laws who are encouraging you to destroy yourself and dilute yourself, but the government is not doing that. Remember, They're just giving you all these options that you already wanted. You wanted the remedies, you wanted the surgeries, you wanted to have the culture of family and friends. Okay, well, all right, nobody's forcing them to go into areas they are not welcome and cultivate resistance. But when people feel they must convert somebody else, they'll go into a crowd of people they know they're not welcome in and try to force everyone to love them and act like them and like them and deal with them. And that's called societal rape. So when you go out there and protest, knowing that there's a bunch of Democrats or Republicans, and you're inserting yourself, you already said okay to the war. You're willing to be cannon fodder. You're willing to be a casualty of war. And so when people are trying to force their positions onto others by inserting themselves into an area that they're not welcome in, then the hive minds are basically influencing so many people to think they're under attack. So when you get with your friends and you go to the other side and be like, yeah, we're here, we're going to go and protest. Yeah. And then somebody else resists you and then you become a victim of something. No. You asked for it. But it's my right. Yeah, it's your right, but you're not immune to the consequences of whatever rights that you are forcing yourself into. That's why it's going to be fucking dangerous this next pressure cooker release. When people are developing so much growth and the temperatures will go up in the cities around a lot of people, causing the storms to be that much more aggressive. And so if you don't want stress and resistance, stop inviting it into your world and cultivating it. And that includes, alcohol, drugs, crazy sex, wanting to be around a lot of people, boyfriends and girlfriends. I mean, the only person I really can handle is my husband as far as resistance. I can only handle so much. I used to handle a lot of resistance, and it was a war all the time, and it makes you sick when you're around people who are in microbial resistance with you, who are in immunological, same thing, who are in political resistance with you, who are in gender resistance with you. And so I used to go and cultivate resistance because it was kind of fun, right? People are curious about you, and then I would go and try to influence them, and no, you can't do that. Those days are over. It is cultivating and inviting resistance into your body, mind, spirit, world. Yeah. And when you are aware of how people are resisting you, and all the jokes and the shots, the jokes, which people are taking shots at you, making fun of you, sneering at you. When you feel that, and you still go into situations knowing that's what people are doing, what the fuck? And then you feel bad. You're like, oh my God, I'm such a victim. No, I put myself in that position. I chose to go to that situation knowing how people feel about me, knowing that they're like, she doesn't really belong. And when you do that, you can't claim victim. You just stop going to situations that you know at the gut level, you're not welcome. People are in resistance to your body, mind, and spirit, where you come from, what you look like, what you represent. And when you are clean and sober, you will actually feel it. You will see it in people's eyes. You'll understand their behavior, their body movements. Body language tells you everything. And they're so kind to you, killing you with kindness. When they're so polite to you, because what else are they going to do? Yeah. You don't forcibly insert yourself in situations and then blame somebody else for why they're resisting you, because then your arguments are asinine. And if you're not aware that you're not welcome in an area, you'll walk into danger and think you'll survive it, but you won't. And that's what these activists do. They purposely insert themselves in areas that they know are dangerous, but they don't know. But it's dangerous because you're cultivating resistance. And that's what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. He went towards danger. People were reacting to him. He ended up having to defend himself. That ended up in someone's death. He walked towards danger. They were in danger. It became a war, and there was always a casualty. No different than January 6th. People actually went to that situation. There was a war. There wasn't so much resistance, but there was a little bit, but not a lot. Someone became a casualty. If you don't release the deadly resistance within your immune system, you will be deadly yourself. And then the facade will crack one day. I hope you survive it. And I hope you have the ability to rebuild if that's your intention. When you are so aware of how deadly the war is out there and people are brewing storms underneath the facade of gentleness and kindness and equality, you cannot force anyone to deal with you. You can't, because eventually you will break their facade, because resistance can only last so long. You cannot force anyone to like you or love you or respect you. You can't force anyone to do anything. But when you insert your children or yourself in situations that are not welcomed by the world or by the crowd, then the government must step in and control that situation. And that's what's going on right now. Everything about the right wing is about controlling your children, who turn into deadly adults of victims of human trafficking and died suddenly. If you don't want the government in your business, then you need to regulate your own intolerances, and you need to reconsider whether or not it's prudent to have children now when the system is trying to control aggressive reproduction. I don't get special treatment from anyone. I don't expect people to feel sorry for whatever I went through the last 7 years or even the last 50 years. I'm not pissed at the government going into Vietnam way back when. I understand all the arguments, and I have no issue with whatever happened in the past and what's happening today and what can happen next year. I'm staying out of the war. And if you have any issue with any political party, regardless, you need to figure out what hive minds are controlling your body, mind, and spirit, and figure out how to regulate yourself, because if not, somebody else will, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. And never assume you won or lost, because the system is showing you both sides of the issue. And what happens when one extreme is in control, causing resistance in another extreme, and then flipping that situation around. Recognize the tactics of your government is developing and implementing. And no, you did not win, and no, you did not lose. You just were able to experience how bad it could be when one side or the other side that's so extreme is in control. And you can see the chaos, and you see the resistance, and you see how deadly people can be when they purposely inject themselves forcibly into a crowd who does not understand them. And so you ask for whatever war you insert yourself into a war, or when you get the war inserted into you. So if you get the war inserted into you, and that's with all the therapies and everything else that's going on, fine, you asked for that war. Now you have to deal with it. When you insert yourself into a situation that you know at the gut level, people don't like you, and they resist what you stand for and resist everything about you, you don't put yourself in a position to be resisted by people around you. Now, when you go out in public, and there's a lot of people who are diverse, the system is going to regulate how people behave towards each other. And that's why it's a slow transition of exposing people to diversity, and then also developing a way to act publicly. What you dress like, what your behaviors are, how you interact with your peers. We're learning how to fucking get along in the sandbox again. But it's going to take now going back to square one, back to the drawing board, and everyone's going to have to be either on lockdown or staying home and staying safe, and let the government deploy the resources to regulate those who cannot play well in the sandbox. But we are heading into a more conservative world, and I'm okay with that, because it's about conservation, and sustainability. Conservative, conservation. Now you see how that works. Liberal will not really be in the future. You can do your liberal shit at home in appropriate places. Okay, but when it comes to children and the public square and the workplace, there is a modicum of behaviors. And your sexuality and your religion and your politics can't be something that's so at the forefront that it causes a disturbance. Now, as far as the school system, the system is going to bring in religion. It's going to bring a Christian religion. And that's fine, because then you have the 10 Commandments, then you have your teaching the Bible, okay, you're having the moral codes and all that, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. Remember, I was raised in Judaism, went to Friday night services every Friday, went to Sunday school, celebrate whatever holidays. We had Christmas trees, and we also had Hanukkah. And so it gave us a background to work from, to understand the framework of society. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, commit adultery, covet, all that stuff, okay? And then you become a balanced, contributing member of society. But if you're bringing kids into this world, the system is going to have to raise them, because we're watching parents now raising kids, and these kids are fucking flipping out. All right? But if you don't have any kids, you don't have any animals, and it's just you and your husband or wife, husband, whatever, it doesn't matter, and you're basically self-regulating, self-sufficient, there's nothing to resist. You are the perfect citizen of our society. And if you need a little medical help, fine, that's fine. System will help regulate whatever it is if it's in a slower frequency. But as soon as you have cancer disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, and you have a bunch of children, and you have a lot of issues to deal with, and you have a lot of resistance within you, yeah, that's a deadly society when you have that type of situation. And so right now we're going through a major turnaround of expectation. And it's going to be deadly. But whatever, what are you going to do? You can't force people to change, so the system will have to do things in a different way. All right? And so, what else? Let me see. And that's a protective cough to then defibrillate my alimentary canal. All right, your body is the weakest during 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. This is the time most people die in their sleep. And that's why people need to learn how to cough, sneeze, and blow their nose. And sometimes take a poop in the middle of the night. Okay? And so, I gotta pee. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to read this. So that's why I'm awake during these times between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. These are the times that I will cough, sneeze, and blow my nose, that if I had not conditioned myself to do that, I would have died in my sleep, or at least have a heart attack or a stroke or become paralyzed. Many times I could have died in my sleep because I would wake up choking on my own mucus. I'd wake up with such aggressive arm pain. I'd wake up coughing hard. That's why I don't remedy any disease or take away symptoms or take away pain, because that's the body's way of letting you know it's waiting for you, it's working for you, not against you. But you have to be strong enough to understand what's going on. If not, people do die in their sleep, especially early in the morning. Like I said before many times, the most popular times when people die or at least experience a heart attack or a stroke is either early in the morning or overnight. And then during the day, you feed yourself. You sleep when you need to, so you're strong enough for the night. That's why I'm an early riser. That's why I get the most innovative thoughts, and that's when I work better the most, is early in the morning after all of that energy conversion. And so then during the day, you feed yourself and sleep when you need to, so you're strong enough for the night. That's why I'm an early riser, because when it's that aggressive out there, my body is in alert mode. And I'm awake a lot to make sure I fight these demons. And you have to eat all food to give your body the fuel and the substance so you can survive another day. That's why the food supply, all of it, is so important. And you have to condition your body to deal with it, taking on the pressure and releasing pressure. And sometimes you may need to release more pressure than you take on. And everybody is different. And you can't assume you can do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Okay? And so if you're all about remedying away your disease, then okay, the end result's going to be death at some point. You may not be able to survive the night one day when all the conditions are right. And so if you can't change the way you do stuff, then I understand everybody can. But that's what I've changed from the mainstream and from what most people are doing, actually what all people are doing out there, is they're resisting their body going through the evolution. And you can't expect children to understand this. And so it's not your place to make children deal with taking on pressure and releasing it. So it's pretty much out of your hands. You have to get your children treated. But you as an adult have all the freedom and choice, and you're not a slave unless you choose to be. You're the one that has to keep up with everybody around you and lifestyle, and a lifestyle, and that is truly not sustainable. That's truly not sustainable in the long run. Okay? So you don't have to have that large house. You don't have to have all those cars and collectibles. You don't have to have all the things that people have, their baubles and all their experiences and travels. You could scale down to almost nothing. Shit, I mean, I live in the poor side of town, but it's not really. It's not that poor when you think about it. It's basically middle class. I'd be a little bit lower middle class, but it's still middle class. Not the ghetto, because the ghetto is like living in the projects. Okay, so you can scale down and be around diverse people and still be a contributing member of society and not have to put on airs that you're so successful and you're so highly like falutin. I mean, that's why people die, is they die for those lifestyles of the trappings of wealth and the image they want to put out there that, oh, they're so successful, they're so balanced, they're so good. And yeah, that's when people die. Okay? So if you are a humble person, then you can scale down everything. I mean, I know that if it was by myself, I'd pay $500 in my mortgage. Okay? When your mortgage is $500, $511.53 or 83, and my neighborhood is safe, you can live on almost nothing and still be happy. It's when those that have so much they have to go and support their family, their friends, a lifestyle, baubles and trucks and cars. Yeah, you're a slave, and then you'll die in that situation. You'll die as a slave trying to keep up with everybody around them. And so when it's hot outside, you need to eat because you need to eat food because your body is burning a lot more energy than you're aware of, and you're not feeding your body. Your body will actually cannibalize itself and shut down. Okay, so you have to, during these hot times, if you're not hungry, it doesn't matter. Eat food, release demons, cool down, stay in a dark room with the AC on. You don't have to be out there. It's too freaking hot. All right, so now when I get hives, heart palpitations, I know my immune system is activating and is doing what it needs to do, and I feed it spaghetti and whatever else I have in my house. So it has the fuel and the resources. And then I take a nap, and sometimes I wake up with arm pain, and sometimes I have to use the restroom or take a hot shower to help contract the muscles because it's going through its own process. And it's a daily process relative to what kind of life you are hold within and what needs to be released. That's deep within your immune system that's coming to surface, like digging a hole in the earth and going through the layers and layers of strata of time. The world is not what you think. You are history. All of you are history. You are one blip of time in the history that you could potentially become valuable information to yourself and your family and the world, and it can only carry on the human race forward or die on the vine. And that's why there's so much redundancy in our society, which is also why we have so many doppelgangers. You have a black and white Hispanic Asian twin out there, okay? And that's also why I spent a summer or almost a whole year every day eating ice cream, sandwiches at night, and eating so much cream and milk and macaroni and cheese because my body needed the mucus to repair and release, and to cough and sneeze and blow my nose, and even doing diarrhea when it was appropriate. I never ever stopped my body from releasing. I never ever stopped my body from feeding. That's why I ate so much and continued to eat gluten, sugar, salt, meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fruits, veggies, and water. And I rested and I changed my lifestyle, and I pulled back from all the social outings and travels and addictive behaviors, and I self-reflected, and I stayed home, and I stayed safe. People thought I was nuts. No, I was saving myself and giving myself a second chance at life. Ever since 2019, as my immune system was waking up during these pandemics, some years were worse than others. Some years were so bad that I could barely move for a few months or for a few weeks. This last 4 months has been pretty brutal, but it's not as bad as it was back in 2020, 2021, and 2022. When I had those brutal headaches. I now understand why people think they've been touched by the Holy Spirit when the microbes are, and the viruses or the entities, which are intelligent, start sending people messages at night through their dreams. It's like Princess Leia sending you a message through R2-D2 that she's looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi as he is her only hope. Some of these messages you receive in your sleep could be from the microbes warning you of dangers abound. Expect some aggressive energy and wars within your immune system. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. You seriously must be a Jedi Knight with your body, mind, and spirit to fight off the dark forces, and you must find alliances within your immune system to keep you alive. And I'll tell you, the pain and the food and sleep are the alliances, but never ever mischaracterize pain. And I know men have a hard time resting and pulling back. They have so much testosterone energy that they have to release, but they also need to rebuild, and they need to stop masturbating so much so they can keep some of the testosterone energy life force. Men are built differently than women. There's a way to survive it, but it does take strategy. Now, I want to believe that Noah and Methuselah are an example of a male who can withstand the elements and live to be at least 900 years old, or 969. But I don't know if that's really true or not. I don't know if they are the actual example. They could be, but I don't know. I wasn't there back then. Okay? And so, equality, the right to exist and express in a culture, lifestyle, belief that is not harming children or animals or other humans, and is also appropriate in its proper venue and place. You can't be yourself everywhere. Know the right time and place to be yourself, and sometimes it is at home. I really couldn't be myself 20 years ago, and I can't be myself in diverse company even today. So I do it on Facebook. And I know my boundaries. My husband mostly accepts who I am, though he resists some parts of me. But I will never be like everybody else. I'm not special. I just release my demons that most people still cultivate. Okay, and as far as like the domestic partnership versus marriage and what's the point of each? Well, if you don't have children or animals, then don't worry about the marriage. Just be a domestic partner and then have a living will and have, your life insurance with a beneficiary. And really, when you think about it, marriage is for people who have children. Okay? That's really what marriage is for. So if you have a domestic partnership, then that's for just someone that there's certain things, but you can also bring in certain legal contracts to give you kind of the same sort of situation, and even have like a health contract, or what is it, a living health, where you can say, well, if I'm sick, then this person come visit me or something. I don't know. But talk to a lawyer. Okay, if you're in a domestic partner and you're gay or lesbian or transgender and you're with somebody and you don't have any kids, talk to a lawyer, figure out what it is that you want to do with that relationship and what happens during your end of life situation. Okay? So don't let those two entities make you think that you're not getting your rights, because eventually, they're going to end the marriage between lesbian and gay at some point. I don't know, but it might happen. And don't think, oh God, it's the end of the world. No, just figure out how to strategize. But when you say marriage, there's definitely an implication. There's spirituality, there's children involved, and all this other stuff. And so don't get caught up in those differences and make it be like your platform of resistance to destroy, because that'll bite you in the ass. All right? Figure out how to strategically work your way through everything. And so the public school system, the family and the government will figure out how to raise your children. The family will be the one to determine what their kids are taught at home, and if the kids are taught things which manifest in destructive behaviors at school, then the government will step in. So it's family first, the school system, and then government regulating when it's appropriate. Then we can see what kind of people families produce and develop a database of cause and effect. If you have no children, it's not your problem. We pay taxes, you pay taxes to the government so the children are regulated and brought up in a safe and productive society. Okay? And then this is for those that hacked into that website. Hacking into any website to confront anyone is acting like a virtual rapist. I don't care if you are gay or straight or non-binary. Purposely inserting and injecting yourself into any website or live stream is acting like a rapist. And it's not okay, and it's inhumane. If someone is not actively doing any harm to your body, mind, and spirit, then what you have become is a political, spiritual, and scientific terrorist, as well as sexual terrorist, based upon your intentions. And when people make accusations, somebody is taking away their rights, whatever that means, you have now become the predator, actively inserting yourself into someone's world, taking away their right to exist and express, and you've become the terrorist and the predator, and the system must control and regulate. So then whatever you're accusing somebody else, you've become what you're accusing somebody else of. And that's what's going on right now in the activist world. The next pressure cooker that's going to be released will be these elections. Stay home and stay safe. do not fly your colors. Somebody inevitably is going to want to take away your ability to exist. And once you insert yourself into a war that you cannot control, you become a target. Don't become the very thing that you're against, or else you have no fucking argument or leg to stand on. All right? So to resist the Heritage Foundation is to resist your own existence. Because we are heading into a more conservative world. And now you have to be responsible for what you're producing in your body, mind, and spirit, and what you're producing in your kids. And if your kids are running all over the place, acting like little terrorists, the system is going to regulate that. And then they're going to want to figure out how to develop a foundation for these kids if all the conditions are right. And some kids will get lost in the cracks because they never had a chance. Their parents did not give them enough of a foundation for them to be regulated within the school system. So, anyways, that's I'm gonna say it for right now. But yeah, I feel definitely a lot better. But it's been quite an interesting battle, and we're in July 13th. And it's been since before March. It's been since March, since spring, that I've been battling this fucking demon. Okay, and it's been quite painful. I understand what it's like to have neuropathy. I understand what it's like to have fibromyalgia. I understand what it's like to have back pain, arm pain. Not leg pain, because I didn't have it, but I've had a little bit of that, but not too much. But I understand what it's like to deal with pain every single day. But it also will make you stronger. If it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. But know how to support it. But again, everyone has their has their tolerance level, and some people are too far gone. All right, that's it. Happy Saturday. Bye.